Shut up. I said be professional tonight. Gotta crack my beer before we get to this. Ah, that's better.
Hold on. I might do that too.
What? The overlay's still on. What are you talking about? The overlay is not still on.
Go ahead.
The overlay's not still on. What are you talking about? I know what I'm doing. Welcome in, everyone, to the voice of college football. It's College Football After Dark right here on the main channel every Sunday night. Tonight, we are here. It's only 3 of us, so this short show will be short and brief. God help me, I hope, for once in my life. I will not be here till 2 in the morning. But we have our guests. Please, one by one, Joey and Sean, tell people about yourself and where they can stalk you online. Old man, you first.
I'm Joey Foster. Don't stalk me. How's that? No, welcome in, everyone. Glad you're here. I have not been in a college football after dark show this year. This is
that's actually a lie. I want to call you on that. You were here about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I was not. I was here, but I didn't stay.
No, you were still
I
here.
just came in. I came in before the show and left.
No, you were here on the show.
you're the best here. 100%.
I'll call you a liar on that because 4 weeks ago I was sick and couldn't even talk.
Chat, tell Joey he's a liar. He was here on the show for at least most of the show.
Anyway, I'm here tonight. I'm here tonight. So shut up, Ben. I'm here tonight, and we're going to talk college football. I think Sean's got some NFL to talk about. What's going on, Sean?
We don't need to talk NFL. We don't need to talk the Lions' epic collapse in the second half. We don't need to talk about that. You can find me. You can find me right here. On the Ocho and on Mark Rogers' show. And if you're ever around the microbrew scene in Grand Rapids, you spot me, just tap me on the shoulder. I'll get you a drink.
I think I'm hoping. I'm pretty sure everybody knows where to find me at. I have so I do some shows over on the West Virginia channel, also on the Big 12 channel, and I'm always around the voice of college football on every network at some point or another. But hey, what do you say? But yeah, I'd love for everybody to tune in. I will say this, and we don't have very many in here right now, but so I'll probably repeat this later. I am going to do an interview with Senator Joe Manchin on the NIL collective and what's going on in Congress with NIL. They're trying to pass some laws. So I'm going to do an interview with Joe Manchin. We're going to get that scheduled here in the next couple of weeks. If you are a member of the Voice of College Football, then you have, or a member on YouTube of the Voice of College Football as well, or on Patreon, then you have a Discord link. You can go into Discord and DM me a private message to just tell me a question that you maybe want asked of Senator Manchin. And, I can't promise I can use all the questions, but probably most of them are going to be like same questions and stuff. And, I will pull from those questions to ask Joe Manchin. So if you have something you want, just go into Discord. You'll find me there and then send me a private message, and I'll be glad to ask your question of Senator Manchin.
And we'll definitely get into the Discord here in a second. But Jackson, you are here. Introduce yourself and where people can stalk you online because you're late.
Oh, sorry about that. I went to go talking with Mark for a little bit. But you can find me on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979. You can also find me on Twitter at Jackson09960335. You can find me on Jackson Johnson 543908 on Instagram and threads.com.
There you go. And I'm just Ben of Exploring with Ben and Sam. Find me here on YouTube. Same name for the channel. You'll find all of my other socials there, as well as every Tuesday or Wednesday for the Oregon Ducks live show. Yeah, it's just me. And then, of course, here on Sundays. Nothing special. But I do want to hit that point please do make sure to, if you want to be part of this panel, when we're live on most Sundays here coming up for a little while, join the Discord. All you have to do to get on the Discord is become either a Patreon member through the link in the description, markrogerstv.com or Mark Rogers TV on Patreon, or become a YouTube member and then email Mark at markrogerstv@gmail.com, and he'll give you a Discord link. You join us. We're on there all year long, and it's an open panel. So that's how you join this panel to become a member, by becoming one of those 2 members and getting the Discord link.
You can be a part of the best college football post-game show in all of college football, but just by joining via patreon.com/Mark Rogers TV or become a YouTube member of the Voice of College Football.
Well, no. The Oregon one is the best post-game show. This is the recap show. The Oregon post-game show is the best.
You're right. Oregon is the best post-game show, especially when you lose, and I can come in there and troll you.
Shut up, old man. Shut up, old man. Also, please, the Big Ten live show, remember, it's on Fridays now at 7 p.m.
And give you a spaz like 7-8 shots deep.
I'd get them confused if they were still outside.
No, we broke this game, man.
And Bean, thank you for the welcome back. I appreciate that. And it is good to be back. And I am 100%, but I will probably lose my voice if Ben fires me up and I get on a rant. I will probably lose my voice. So.
That can happen at any moment. But please make sure Big Ten show now on Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to remember that, everyone, all the Big Ten fans, I guess including myself now, technically. By force.
And we've also got the Ocho on Mondays at appropriately 8 o'clock.
I don't care about the Ocho. Please subscribe also to the Big 12 channel, because West Virginia needs some love. Joey needs a shout out here and there. So please join the Big 12 channel. Description for that is in.
Let's get it to 500.
Yeah, the Big 12 channel. We do need some help over there, guys. If you guys would start tuning into that show, we do have shows over there on Tuesday night with Clint Folster, and on Monday night, myself and Shane do a show over there on the Big 12 channel. Look up Big 12 at the Voice of College Football, or Jackson has posted a link there. Now, let's get on with this show. I think we've shouted out everything.
Well, of course, support this show. Just hit that like button. It helps this show a lot, too. It helps Mark. And also, if you're new here, so consider subscribing to the channel. It helps Mark out a lot. And the like button helps spread this show out to the YouTube algorithm so more people see it. And it just works wonders. So anyways, yeah, I think the news of the week, really, for college football, we can get into the NFL, the Lions choking it all away as usual. History gone in the moment, The big news this week, which wasn't shocking, it was just seemed like it took longer than we expected. Jim Harbaugh has gracefully bowed out at Michigan for higher ventures, as he even was quoted saying, "There's no Lombardi in college football," and he wants to still chase it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Someone better tell Latu that his award this season doesn't count because there's no Lombardi award in college football.
Well, I think he can get the Chargers that Super Bowl ring, but the question is, are the Spanos family going to get their sticky little fingers away from Harbaugh to let Harbaugh do his magic?
I mean, I think so. They've got enough of that revenue coming in from SoFi Stadium. Is that the LA Stadium? SoFi. I get
this.
Yeah.
The one they share with the Rams. And I know, like, a lot of people still mistakenly call the Los Angeles Chargers the San Diego Chargers. Still, and it's just like, I feel so bad for Charger Nation, because it's like, that's not what they asked for. That's not what the fans asked for. They didn't ask to get screwed over nicely by the Spanos family. They didn't ask for that. None of them.
So here's how I feel about this.
The Spanos family is doing fine. That's all you need to know about the Spanos family.
I'm a college football fan, and I just like college football. So Jim Harbaugh to me is poof, gone out of my mouth. There's no need in talking about Jim Harbaugh now. And the new coach at Michigan is who to talk about, and they hired from within. So I like the hire, and everybody knew the hire was coming, but I think Michigan will fall off now. I do not believe they will maintain where they were, but I've been wrong about Michigan. I was wrong about Michigan all year, so probably wrong now.
It happens.
No, I mean they.
Don't
I mean,
feel bad, man.
it would have been hard to maintain the success they've had with Harbaugh. I mean, with Sharon Moore coming in, I mean, certainly the reviews from within are very positive. We'll see. It's a big test. They have to replace almost their entire offense next year. The defense should still be like at an elite level, but I mean, I don't think the program will sustain the level of excellence it had the last couple years under Harbaugh. But can it be like a typical Michigan program? I definitely think it can.
I think for sure next year. For sure next year, Michigan, Alabama, Arizona, and Washington will all be down. I don't think they will be down to where they're barely making a bowl game. Obviously, they're going to win 9, 10, 11 games, but I don't think they'll be back in the college football playoffs for a couple of years.
Did Minter stay then as a DC?
No, Minter today announced that he is. I don't know if it's even been officially announced, but it's been circulated via the grapevine that he is following Harbaugh to the Chargers.
Yeah,
that's what we kind of figured. And Moose, we're just saying Jim Harbaugh is not to be talked about as in the sense of because he's not in college football anymore, so there's no need to mention his name.
No, I just say poof to his name.
He's not in the college football world anymore, so poof.
Well, it's funny though because now that we got the only team that still has their head coach from the playoff run is Texas. Sarkisian's not going anywhere.
And got a lot of talent coming back too. So, Texas, but going over to the SEC.
They've got a lot of talent leaving too. I mean, they've got a lot. Yeah. But
and plus going to the SEC. And I've not actually looked at Texas's schedule, so I don't know who they're going to be faced up against in the SEC and who they're going to play. But it's not now if they play like fourth place team on down, it's going to be about the same as the Big 12. But when they get up there to the upper tier of the SEC, the Alabamas and Georgias and LSUs and even Ole Miss at that point. They might struggle.
Well, and I will say, we will do a kind of conference by conference kind of schedule preview, especially with all the changes that have been made, additions of new teams, because it's just a whirlwind for every conference to go, who are we playing? Now and stuff like that for a lot of teams. So, all I will say is I don't know if say. Sark, but the question was, will Bama fall? Kalen DeBoer works magic, and Sarkisian, if they play Texas, remember Sarkisian is 0-2 against DeBoer. So, but that was with Penix and those receivers. So,
I mean, that's going to be the whole key with Kalen DeBoer, right? Like, can he succeed without a lot of things falling into place for him?
I think Sark will be fine at Texas because they don't have to worry about having Bama or LSU on the schedule this year. Because their first conference game is going to be Mississippi State. Florida, we don't know what kind of state they're going to be in. It's not looking good.
The state of a dumpster.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
The state of a dumpster fire.
At the moment, it looks like, but Arkansas, they're nowhere near where they were with the Frank Broyles era or the Petrino era. But although Petrino is back as an OC, so does that mean we're going to see Arkansas make some magic in 2024, or does that mean Sam Pittman is cursed to be fired. I guess we'll wait and see.
Well, I mean,
but-
they've got a big issue at quarterback now too. Do they even? I mean, KJ Jefferson hit the portal,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I forget where he went. He went to UCF,
Central
right?
Florida.
UCF, right? Yeah.
Florida.
hmm So,
But
I mean-
but I know that Texas is going to Michigan for week 2. Georgia's coming to Austin for the week after the Red River rivalry on October 19th.
Yeesh.
I kind of feel like Georgia Texas could be an SEC title preview.
Possibly. I mean, that's why we're going to do the whole conference breakdowns, because we're going to get into them, because especially the SEC doing pods and stuff, it's going to be an interesting scenario. That's why we're going to do the little kind of conference breakdowns, Big Ten adding 4 teams and just scrapping divisions. Basically, it's just going to be kind of wild.
I'll be honest. I'm just happy that Texas A&M is back and that Texas Arkansas is going to be back as a conference game. I gotta be honest. I enjoyed those Texas Arkansas games when they played each other in non-conference, and I watched some of those old games on YouTube several years back. And I'm like, why isn't that a conference game anymore? Now my dream's coming true. Nice.
remember hearing that story about didn't Richard Nixon decide who was the national champion, like in '69, between Texas and Arkansas? I think he declared Arkansas when they were still in. It was when they were still both in the Southwestern Conference, right?
That's whack.
Yeah. He declared one of them that I think they tied in the regular season that year, and he declared Arkansas the champions of the nation. And
No, Texas won 15-14 in 1969. Nixon snubbed Penn State, and Paterno was super pissed about it. And when Nixon was like, "What do you say we forget about all what happened?" and Paterno's like, "You can shove it."
Let me ask you guys a question. What was the biggest surprise bowl game for y'all this year? Because to me, I have to go back to one of the earlier bowl games. Northwestern beating Utah 14-7 was a huge shock to me. I mean, it was a huge surprise to me, and I never expected that one. What was the biggest shock?
Utah was. They were running on vapors right there. I know Bryson Barnes came back, but he was already in the portal. He was halfway checked out, and he was already their 4th string quarterback. I wasn't like that surprised at Northwestern. I picked Northwestern to win that game. So
I'd say it was surprising on my end, just because I thought with Barnes leaving and him going, I'm not going to leave you guys high and dry. I'm going to come back and play, kind of make a statement, and just nothing. Yeah, it was surprising. It was a bit surprising the way it went. I thought it would be, at least it would feel more competitive, but it really just didn't. It really felt like Northwestern just beat the hell out of them.
Well, that game was played on December 23rd, and that's when I was doing really good. I mean, if everybody remembers, we had the Voice of College Football bowl pick'em, where you picked all the bowl games and stuff. I was doing really good. I was in second place in that until December 23rd, and I lost that game. I lost the Northwestern Utah game. I also lost the Air Force. You were doing
good for like 2 days. I mean, how long was the?
I lost the Air Force James Madison game. James Madison, I figured was going to beat Air Force. I lost that game. I lost the Georgia State, Utah State game. There was another game too. I lost. What was it? I can't remember. I lost one other game that day. I lost 4 games that day. It was a bad day for me on my card.
I'm calling rigged in that system anyways, because whoever did win it was a freaking AI.
Mr. Mittens won.
Yeah.
Wait, who won it?
Mr. Mittens.
Mr. Mittens.
Okay.
He
Yeah,
must be
yeah.
related to Mr. Noodle.
That was like 32-8 or something like that. I mean, it was ridiculous.
He had an amazing year. He was really good.
Yeah. But that was the ball game I really loved was that comeback by Western Kentucky in the famous Toastery Bowl. That was nice. I mean, because there are a lot of people turning it off, but then Western Kentucky's making this little comeback, and then bam, we got ourselves a game. And honestly, it had some 2022 Vikings Colts vibes written all over it for some people in the chat that watch some NFL here and there. That's what kind of felt like to me.
What about you, Sean? What did you have picked out? Because I mean, there was a lot of bowl games, so that's why I said it's such a hard thing to do. That's why we separated regular season from bowl season, because it was just there's no way you could select 3 or 4 games out of all of it combined.
No, I thought the Miami Rutgers bowl game was very interesting. That seemed to go kind of in spurts. Like Rutgers got off to a big lead, then Miami came back, took the lead, and then like last quarter, Rutgers completely took the game over again.
The fighting Schianos. Oh,
yeah,
Schianos.
Yeah, I mean, you look at two programs that couldn't be built in have more opposite philosophies.
Well, I think Greg Schiano's a good coach. You know, he did good at Rutgers before, right? You know, I mean, he's the one that recruited Ray Rice. I'm sure everybody remembers Ray Rice.
For certain things.
So, Ray Rice, Kenny Brett, Mike Teal, Mom Massaquoi, all these guys.
Yeah, and now my team that I'm going to watch, the team I'm going to watch this year, though, that I think could have a good season is Miami. You know, I think Miami. I don't think they're back. Don't get me wrong. But I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games this year. I think they finally will turn around. They've got enough talent to go undefeated, especially in the ACC. But I'm going to, I still think they'll win 8 or 9 games.
If they win 8 or 9, say with a bowl game, that's a good trajectory.
Yeah,
that they're on. I mean, that's a good trajectory. Yeah. So,
but
the problem is with
Rutgers. Back to Rutgers, Greg Schiano can. Yeah, I agree with Mark. He can flat out coach. Man, he is a great coach.
Well, the problem with Miami is they always win that one game that they shouldn't win, and they lose that one game that they shouldn't. But that's how it always is with Mario Cristobal. You know, sorry to bring this back to memory lane, Ben. 2021, when they beat the Buckeyes in Columbus, and then they pissed it away against Stanford 3 weeks later. I mean, that was just like. My heart was like, I was just so upset about seeing Oregon not getting closer.
Again, that game had several other factors besides the Cristobal effect. That had several other factors that people seem to forget or didn't know about. So, but at the same time, it should never have happened.
True.
Mark says Miami's schedule sucks, and the ACC gave them a cakewalk. No. The ACC gave Pitt a cakewalk in their conference or their schedule. Pitt has a super easy schedule.
Well, a bowl game I had to pick, and a lot of people didn't watch it, and it maybe seemed irrelevant, but it was a great way to go out because how more fitting for the final game for Greg Bowl to go out with a win is a 16-15 win over Toledo. I mean, that is the most Greg Bowl style of game for Wyoming.
The Barstool Arizona Sport.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Craig Bowl's last game. I watched that more than I did the Orange Bowl, honestly, because I mean that Orange Bowl game that was just too sad for me. So I was like, you know what, I'm changing it to the Barstool Bowl.
Yeah, just so fitting. That's a Greg Bowl style team. The entire time he's been in Wyoming is just these grind them out. Let's just finish this game style. And that's what they did. And hey,
Was it
Yeah.
was it TCU Wyoming beat first game of the year? Was it TCU?
no,
No,
Texas Tech.
They beat
Texas
Texas
Tech.
Tech on
Texas Tech, yeah.
TBS. TC's first game was Colorado for the 2023 season.
Jim
But
Harbaugh,
I
is a
was-
good
I
one.
mean-
You know, I didn't include this in the bowl. I forgot. This couldn't be included in the bowl game. Yeah, the Army Navy. One every year, it's always good to watch no matter what happens. But this year, especially, 4th down stop at like the 6-inch yard line by Army to win. Yeah, to win outright the Commander-in-Chief trophy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doesn't it happen? It feels like it happens like every year in the Army Navy. It's just 3 hours of slop and boredom, and then it comes down to like one possession at the end.
Pretty much like maybe two. Like each team duels it out all of a sudden.
Who's going to win 14-13 this year? I mean,
That's why it's classic, because it's just
Mhm.
exactly what you expect, and then all chaos breaks loose the last like 90 seconds
Yeah.
out of desperation.
The New Orleans Bowl was a pretty good one between Jacksonville State and
Oh, yeah.
Louisiana.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
that
Rich
was a good one.
Rodriguez.
I love old Rich Rod.
You don't have any exclusive with Rich Rod, do you, Joey?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
what
don't
about?
have nothing, I don't have nothing against Rich Rod.
Yeah, you guys have nailed 3 of the ones I had picked. That's why I had the Wyoming one, and I know this one is one probably people have had. Arizona dueling it out with Oklahoma, where it went back and forth.
Oh.
Arizona took control. Oklahoma took control, looked unstoppable, and then all of a sudden Arizona's like, nope,
Yeah.
shut the door.
I wonder how Big 12 fans were feeling, because it was like Oklahoma's leaving the Big 12 for the SEC, right? And Arizona's about to join. So, I mean, I couldn't help but feel like Big 12 Nation was pulling for Arizona that night. But I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
say,
I was
I
Big
love
12
what Arizona
Nation
pulled
fan,
out.
Joey.
Well, I loved it, to be honest with you. I did. I loved it. Now, I wanted to win for the Big 12, obviously, in a bowl game. But at the same time, I was
But
totally rooting
who
against
wins for the
Texas.
Big 12 in the bowl game? Like, who would be the Big 12 representative in that game? Oklahoma?
Arizona. That's what I said. Even after the game, I was on the show. I don't remember which show it was on. I was on the show and I said, it's a win for the Big 12 either way, right? Oklahoma's leaving the Big 12. But Arizona coming into Big 12, I was rooting for them a lot more than I was Oklahoma. So yeah, I think it was a big win for the Big 12 future, as it was anything. So the problem is, and then Arizona goes and loses their coach. So how good are they going to be next year? I think they're going to fall off a little bit. I had them actually winning the Big 12 next year, but unfortunately losing their coach and a few of their key pieces of players, I can't put them up there at the top anymore. I'm still got them in the top 7 or 8, but I think they're going to drop down.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really tough to see who wins the Big 12. I mean, I think that conference is going to be really competitive for 2024. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
It always has been. It's not top heavy like the Big 10 and the SEC is. It's just not top heavy. It wasn't even when Oklahoma and Texas were here. Even though Oklahoma won it for so many years, they had some challenging games. They lost quite a few games in the Big 12. And would still win the Big 12. But I
think with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, you do lose 2 of the top resource heavy programs, and now like
Well,
I mean with Oklahoma State, obviously Tebow and Pickens passing a few years ago, and they might not be as resource rich as they were in the past. I mean, it feels like a fairly flat conference as far as like, and it seems like whoever has the best leadership in that conference,
yeah,
can take the reins.
Well,
and, be at least like the short term Brahma Bowl.
I wish that Oklahoma State, don't get me wrong, I want them to keep their big non-con games, like the Arkansas and the other Power 5 schools. but I wanted to get rid of their FCS opponent and replace them with Oklahoma every year. Because I mean, they say, we're not going to play Oklahoma. They chose the SEC over us, so we're going to focus on our not rival Colorado. I'm saying, yeah, right. Oklahoma State, Colorado. Are you kidding me?
Well, I think most of you would agree. Probably, in my opinion, the best coach in the Big 12 is Mike Gundy. Without a doubt, I think
he's the most accomplished. I don't know if he's
the most accomplished.
What about
he's
Kyle
proven.
Whittingham?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the best recruiter in the Big 12 is Joey McGuire at Texas Tech, without a doubt. That dude is getting some dudes down there at Texas Tech.
Have you seen what he has?
It hasn't really translated into big victories for him so far, but who knows? This year could be the year for Texas Tech.
I mean, yeah, because last year again they lost Shuck with a broken leg, and that kind of really played in their season. But they did start 0-2, and that was a negative impact to begin. But then he did get it was the number one receiver out of Texas, right? That was the big recruit.
Yeah. Well, they finished strong last year was the big thing. They finished strong,
Yeah, they beat Ole Miss in the bowl game and stuff like that. They trounced them. So,
well,
he'll be there a while. He'll be there a while.
No, Mississippi State you're talking about, right? They beat Mississippi State, not Ole Miss.
Well, my question is for Texas Tech. Are they going to be overly hyped in the preseason, or are they going to show that they're worth the hype for 2024?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah, because it's like 7-6, good record and all, but the problem is Texas Tech was expected to do so much more than 7-6 in 2023. I mean, they were not expected to be playing in the Independence Bowl. They were expected to go like 9-3 at the very least.
Yeah, they were expected to compete for the Big 12 title. I mean,
right?
Yeah,
I had them in the Big 12 title game against Texas. I thought it would be Texas and Texas Tech preseason, and then Texas Tech comes out and loses to Wyoming, and I'm starting to go, hey, wait a minute, how do you lose to Wyoming? And then they dropped a couple of more, and then when West Virginia beat them, I kind of knew then, okay, Texas Tech is down quite a bit right now. But like I said, they finished strong, and they had a great recruiting class last year. They've got a great recruiting class this year. And Joey McGuire is a good coach and a hell of a recruiter. So I think Texas Tech is going to be a formidable opponent this year, but I still don't think they're going to reach the Big 12 championship. I think you have to look at like Lance Leipold at Kansas and what he's doing. I think Kansas is a team to watch right now in the Big 12, Kansas and Kansas State, but you can't count out West Virginia and Texas Tech because West Virginia had a great season last year, got all their talent returning. So, and I'm being biased, I guess, but my pick to win the Big 12 next year is West Virginia. But, I still, it could be up in the air. It could be anything goes, especially when you figure Kansas and how good they're going to be, and Kansas State and how good they pretty much always are. And then you got Oklahoma State and Texas Tech in there as well. I can't count out Mike Gundy at any point, and Joey McGuire's had these great recruiting classes. So Big 12 is wide open next year. It's going to be the conference to watch for sure.
Yeah, that's why I want to do a conference review kind of like almost by itself, because there's a lot to talk about, especially with that stuff.
Utah and Arizona coming in is going, and Colorado as well is going to make it really interesting.
I mean, Arizona State as well with Kane Dillingham coming. If there's any program in the Big 12 that I think could, if they're properly ran, could rise up and take control of everything, it's Arizona State with that Phoenix recruiting scene. You got Gilbert, Chandler, Hamilton all around there. I mean, that's the one program that I think has more advantages than probably anyone else in the league.
No, I do want to do the shout out real fast, for Texas Tech and everything, because of the fact that, like you were saying, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas Tech agreeing to reschedule with the home game with Oregon, so that Oregon could get the Oregon State back on the schedule to keep the Civil War intact for next year. So props to Texas Tech just to delay it 1 year with scheduling to help us out with that. So props to them. Plus, great atmosphere when I was at the Texas Tech game. Didn't work out for Texas Tech, but
Man,
at least I didn't get hit. I didn't get hit by a tortilla. Sam did. I didn't.
I am curious to see what's going to happen with Kansas. I mean, could they win their first conference title since the 60s? I mean, that would be pretty cool right there.
Well, now, didn't Kansas win it in 2007?
No. Oklahoma won
Missouri.
the Big 12 against Missouri. Missouri won the Big 12
okay.
North Division against Kansas.
It seemed to me like Kansas was playing number two.
That Thanksgiving weekend, Missouri played Kansas for the North Championship, and
College Game Day was there on
Mhm.
ABC.
Yeah,
And
you refreshed my memory.
I remember
You're right.
Brent Musburger was calling it. I was not too happy that night because Bama was getting beat by Auburn again at that time. So
that was the year from hell. That chaos year.
Yes,
It
that was the
was.
year from hell.
we need more
7.
years like 2007 in college football.
That's a once a lifetime thing. That 2007 year.
Mhm.
Enjoy that.
Yeah,
Enjoy
That was
it. You better have
abysmal.
enjoyed it when it happened.
Yeah,
that was
every
abysmal.
team that year just hoped and prayed they were either number one or number three. They did not want to be number two. Nobody
Yeah.
did.
No. And number two, you were on life support. You were just waiting for
Yeah.
your death to occur, basically. What did you guys think about Wisconsin LSU? Because I picked LSU to win, and LSU almost blew it for me. Completely blew it for me.
I thought that was as far as like regular season results, that looked like the biggest mismatch on the bowl slate. I mean, how Wisconsin barely got bowl eligible, slogging through the terrible Big Ten West, and they had to go up against this like dynamo of an offense, but they held their own in that game. I mean, they showed up, and they were in control most of that game. Kind of lost it at the end. I mean, that was one of the better bowl games of the season for sure.
Yeah, because I was
I
watching it,
didn't
and I was
watch
like,
that
what?
one.
I didn't get to watch it. I watched the highlights. I was just like, but I saw the scores as it was happening. I was like, what are you doing, LSU? What is going on here? And then all of a sudden, it like clicked, and they started firing finally, like getting going.
Yeah.
I was like, obviously they didn't have
know,
Jaden Daniels, but still, I mean,
Yeah,
No,
well, and
they
LSU
were-
still had
they-
that-
The interesting thing too is that like LSU still had a couple of a number of players with serious NFL draft stock choose to play that game. Malik Neighbors is going to be a top 10 pick. He played that game.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas played that game. I mean, that was
And what really was hurting LSU at that time was that they still had defensive coordinator Matt House. Luckily, he got sent his walking papers after that game. So maybe that means we see a better 2024 season for LSU or not. I guess we'll wait and see. But Luke Fickle
think
seems
so.
to give Brian Kelly a hell of a lot of trouble, doesn't he, gents?
I mean, have they ever met before this? I mean,
Yes,
Luke
in
Fickle,
2021.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, Cincinnati against Notre Dame. Yeah.
Game day was there. Cincinnati, Notre Dame at Notre Dame Stadium. Cincinnati won that one.
Yep.
You know,
Cincinnati was
speaking of
both those
defense,
teams were, yeah.
speaking of defense, I didn't see Tennessee beating Iowa 35-0. I mean,
I was going to start skipping over ones like Iowa, Tennessee. Nope. That wasn't a good one. That was a blowout. Oh, Oregon Liberty. That was no. Never mind. Never mind.
I do have this question about Iowa. It's like if they played in any division other than the Big Ten West, how would they have done this
We're
year?
going to be hearing so much in the offseason about how Tennessee can get the job done. can they get the job done in Gainesville? No, exactly.
We'll see. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, but they'll play
Nico,
Florida.
how do you say that last name, Nico? That's going to be a point of contention in the offseason. Nico Yamareve?
You need just call him Nico.
Nico, yeah.
Just call him
QB Nico.
He's a talented guy.
John, we got a full off season to learn it how he pronounces his last name, so no worries.
They'll just call him by initials, or just Nico or something.
It
Yeah,
must just
that
be
was-
the name Nico. It must just be the name Nico because West Virginia's got Nico Marcio, and nobody can pronounce his last name. They call him Marcio or Marco or something, but it's Marcio.
But he's your backup.
Unbelievable.
Like Oregon used to have an O lineman, and on TV they were like, "Look at that guy." You tried. No, we're just gonna call him Big Y. It was literally like 18 letters long. They're like, "Yeah, we're not even attempting that."
I mean, at least
Not even doing it.
his name isn't Orgy like Alex Orgy.
Orgy in the end zone.
Jones.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I feel bad for him because it's like, oh man, I feel bad for his mom and dad. It's like, are you sure you don't want to change that last name? I mean, your last name is Orgy. Change is something better.
It's so immature, but it's so funny.
That's all right. We get to be a little immature, especially on college football after dark.
Mark does allow this. I don't know why, but he does allow this. He begged me. He's like, "You're going to keep this going, right?"
Hey, it's a good show.
You're welcome, Mark.
I love the
Exactly.
show.
Mark's just like, "God help me."
You know, for some of you that are watching college football after dark, you know, you may have like fond memories of college football final, like with Lou Holtz, Mark May, and Reese Davis. And then once
Objection.
those guys
Objection, Your Honor. Objection.
I love that. Like that was like my favorite part was they were like, you know, having their little court battles. That was just so funny.
Mostly because Lou
But you
Holtz would
know-
get so pissed off and just start slurring his words, and you couldn't even understand what the hell he was saying and just walk off.
His dentures would get all loose right there. Hey, Mark, I disagree with you.
But it was just too funny. But you know, for some of those that thought this is the best ever recap show, well, I'm gonna tell you right now, come on in and be a part of the best recap show in all of college football After Dark, where you can come on in via patreon.com/MarkRogersTV or become a YouTube member at the Voice of College Football, where we go over some of our takes on the latest in all of college football.
I know, I meant to solo screen you when you were doing those. And again, it's an open panel, so that's it. You get on the Discord every week, it gets posted out. You're available, you come in. That's all. That's how it works. It's that easy. But you have to become a Patreon and or a YouTube member to then join the Discord. So do consider one or the other. It helps the channel out a lot, and then you get a lot of extra perks and access to all this stuff, including
yeah.
being on this show.
And
we wanna
that's not
clarify that.
all. 17 more days until Valentine's Day. If you're looking for something for your sweetheart 17 days from now, you can come on in to the merchandise store of the Voice of College Football, where you can go over these nice little keychains, these little phone cases, t-shirts,
You know,
coffee
let me
cups.
tell you something about those phone cases. Those phone cases are amazing. They really are. They're good phone cases. They're like triple protection. So you've got they're three like cases in one that wrap around your phone. And they're cheap. Those are the phone cases that cost you $75, $80 at the phone store, you know, and we've got them for $29. So
There we go.
I need to get one of my own off of my brand. Sheesh. I haven't even done that yet.
I'm totally getting myself one of these days.
yeah,
Well, thank
you
you,
know,
Mark. I appreciate it. And that's
As
not all.
I
There's-
cover Jackson up with that comment. I love
That's
that.
all right. No worries. Oh man, nice little shirts. I am loving it. Love the little mouse pad. And
We-
you
we
can
have
also
some
get
nice
yourself a
merch.
little gym bag. Distressed
We have some
dad
nice
hat.
merch. And another thing too about our merchandise store. So if you come in there and look, it's at topqualityshirts.com. Go to topqualityshirts.com and we have Mark Rogers, we have Traveling Fools, we have Pigskin Pete, Mayhem Matthew. We've got all kinds of guys and gals because we have Friction Vixen in here as well. We have some newcomers that'll be coming into our store here in the next few weeks that I'm in talks with right now. So, yeah, come on, get over there and get your merchandise from your favorite YouTube content creator. And if they're not in there and you want something from that YouTube content creator, let them know they need to call me up and let's talk about them coming into our store. We have a great network.
There's some pretty cool stuff, especially like that Mountaineer locker room flag for then and now. Pretty sweet. And there's the Michigan stuff. There's even a dog bowl. Nice.
Yvette said she was going to buy me one to use as a cereal bowl.
That sounds about right.
I need to get that for a doggy friend that I have. I was gonna get from a Bagel Bear, but I kind of figured that I was like, I want to get a dog bowl for Bear from the Voice of College Football, but that's like he doesn't want to change out his old bowl. So I got some friends of mine that have a golden retriever, so I'm gonna have to get that for their for their dog. Give him a little something. Be like, hey, here's a little something for you, Bella.
So speaking of bowls, UCLA beat Boise State in their bowl game. How do y'all feel UCLA is going to do in the Big Ten?
Oh, they're
Next
gonna
year-
fall freaking apart. They're a disaster right now. I mean, there's a reason why UCLA fans all over the place were saying, read the room, AD, read the room. And they didn't. And I think it's going to bite them in the rear. And they don't have that much of a home field advantage. They showed that against Arizona State, this season. And they fell apart against Arizona 2022. And they fell apart in the last game of the Pac-12. I mean, that is just a disaster right there. I don't think Chip Kelly is the same old Chip Kelly as he was at Oregon, unfortunately.
No, there's a serious lethargy within that program. I mean, Chip Kelly doesn't seem to want to adapt to the modern times in any way.
It's that, and I
He's in a lot of ways like a semi-retired head coach. I mean,
well, as the guy who's dealt with Chip Kelly, obviously, I do think it's a little adaptation. It's still his offense. He's changed the style of it a little bit, but it still is kind of typical offense. I really do think I'd agree with our guy Chris or Serge that is on a lot of the Pac-12 shows and stuff like that. Who's a UCLA guy? He just says too. It's also the administration just really is not that invested.
Yeah, no, and like you can't discount the progress Chip Kelly contributed to college football. I mean, the concepts he brought up with even the old school Harbaugh type coaches and stuff have embraced some of that, or have at least tinkered with it.
Well, yeah,
it's penetrated the landscape of college football, and I think he's a Hall of Fame coach, no doubt. But at this moment, this time and place, is he invested? Is the administration invested to compete at a really high level? I don't think it's just it is what it is. And they don't look good going into the next season, and unless changes are drastically made there, I don't think they're a threat to any.
I do think he'll be eventually a Hall of Fame coach, probably, yes, just because of accomplishments like with Oregon, mostly, obviously. But one of the things that's why credit goes to someone else who is now not in college football, Nick Saban, because guess what? When Saban had all these issues with spread offenses and running quarterbacks, who did Nick Saban call to have a meeting with to discuss how to defend those? Retired defensive coordinator Nick Aliotti from Oregon. After he left, after 1 year with Mark Helfrich, they called him, had a sit down with him, like, how do you stop this? And then all of a sudden, Alabama started being able to defend it because he's like, well, you just got to do this and you got to do this. And so he gave Saban a lot of personal pointers on like how to defend the spread because he had to defend it in practice.
But see, that's the thing. Like Saban, even in his 60s, there
adjusted
was willing to adjust. And I mean, like, what from the UCLA tenure at Chip Kelly gives you the idea that he's willing to do that? It's not much.
Yeah, well, we're going to see. He does have his quarterback, their primary quarterback this year back, the one who started most of it, because obviously Moore is gone. So it'll be interesting, but obviously the other was the most productive quarterback anyways, by far. The most consistent anyways, so there'll be growth for him. But all right, Jackson, you can say your favorite bowl game of the season. Well, I'd say you can say most thrilling, not necessarily your favorite because of the outcome, but definitely most thrilling.
I mean, it was the famous Toastery Bowl.
No. You're not getting away from this. I wasn't going to say it because I thought there'd be Michigan people on here.
Right.
So, but Alabama Michigan was a good game. Was a really good game.
It was a really good game.
But yeah, in all seriousness, though, my top four was the famous Toastery Bowl, Pinstripe Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl. I mean, we're looking at the Rose Bowl, and the questions were: could Michigan win the big game? Could they finally, slay that dragon? They did. I gotta say, I was super impressed with Blake Corum and JJ McCarthy in that game. And I mean, there's a reason why I called JJ McCarthy JJ the Jet Plane, especially when he made clutch plays on that game tying drive. I mean, that was just big right there.
Yeah, the Sugar Bowl. I mean, talk about if you're a Washington fan, that was a heart attack. You should have been up so big in that game, but you just gave Texas every literal opportunity to take it away, and you had to stop them 4 plays in a row from like the 10-yard line to stop them from potentially winning that game.
Texas choked as always.
Well, I
Washington almost choked it away.
I don't know if Texas choked. I mean, Washington thoroughly outplayed them for 57 minutes of that game.
That's what I mean. Washington tried to piss that game away multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, God.
I think they said they're like, Washington was up like 150 yards or 200 yards of offense or something. And they were like, how are they only up 7 points? Because like muff punts, like a bunch of shit. It was just like.
I'll be right back.
I mean, like you watch that game and like, I don't know. Michael Penix played about as perfect of a QB game as possible in that game. And the game was out of his hands with, like 45 seconds left. They just Texas had 4 shots from the 15.
Yeah. Couldn't get it done.
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting enough, Ben, you did pick up, notice the big transfer portal addition you got from the Huskies.
Oh, Muhammad, yes. Well, I guess they've said number 1-ish basic corner, kind of like left or whatever, but still a huge grab. And yeah, that was good. I mean, because they'd been thinking he would go somewhere else, but he was taking a late visit to Oregon, which he has talked very positive about. So that was a huge get for depth, especially as we're losing a couple guys.
Right.
So he'll probably be a plug and play starter.
Yeah. Of course. And he wasn't on the field at the end of that game. So that was even that was even more clutch stop for Washington. And that Washington, I watched that going into that game. I'm like, Washington doesn't run the football particularly well. Their defense is mediocre at best. Or they end this game, or they end the title game. And it felt like a team that was just punching above their weight the entire season.
That's what good teams do too. Sometimes, like you say, sometimes not always impressive, but they find ways to win. And that's what Washington did like all season long. So, I mean, even the title game, it wasn't thrilling at the especially by about the early fourth quarter. But until then, the final score doesn't show actually how close that game was for really a majority of that game.
No, not at all.
That fourth quarter, Washington just finally kind of fell apart. Like they just couldn't hold on anymore.
And they caught a couple bad breaks. Like a very iffy holding call wiped out a big play.
The wide open missed fourth down pass down the field.
The wide open, yeah.
It was like stuff like that. It was little things like that Washington normally would do or not do, and it was just it finally all added up, and it was just like they just collapsed finally. It was like would they have won? I'm not saying they would have won that game, but the score would have been a little closer. But the score doesn't show how actually close that game was for majority of the game.
Right, yeah. And generally teams that flawed don't actually pull it out in the end to win. You need to be a complete team to win a title, but
I'm going through this list. Let's see. Of course, we had Clemson.
I tell you,
was that Joey? Go ahead.
Well, I'm wondering, what did you guys think about the news here recently out of Colorado that they self-reported some violations in the transfer portal?
Wait, they self-reported?
Yeah, I seen something about that quite a few days back. Might have been last week. It was while I was still sick, and I didn't read the complete article, but it was something about Colorado has self-reported some violations in the transfer portal. So I don't know if maybe.
I mean, that's pretty typical for universities for any university to self-report any sort of minor infractions that might have taken place because they don't want the NCAA to.
Yeah, if you self-report, the NCAA like slaps you on the wrist. It's like, all right, you did bad. Don't do it again. As long as you self-report, you get ahead of it.
I don't think anything will come out of it. I don't think anything will come out of it. Now, on the other hand, I do think there'll be some stuff come out of the Michigan thing. I think that will also play into why Harbaugh left. So.
I mean, who knows? I think the fact that Michigan did go ahead and appoint Sherrone Moore tells them that they're fairly confident that they won't get hit real hard on this because Sherrone Moore, I mean, probably was fairly front and center on the Stallions investigation to see if that was a university problem or if that was just one rogue agent.
Yeah, because if they were concerned, I think they would have cleaned house probably after Harbaugh left. They would have said, you know what, we're just going to start fresh. But so they feel like that nothing's going to happen. But self-reporting, is a good way just to avoid issues later on. Take the slap or whatever, the fine, like a minor penalty, and just move on. I'm trying to go through these bowl games and look. The other good ones were, of course, we had you guys.
How about Ole Miss beating Penn State? How about Ole Miss?
Oh, that was a great one.
Yeah, well, I mean, Penn State stayed competitive for a little while, but they had so many opt-outs in that game, especially on the defensive end. It was.
And hey, how about the Seminoles? Yeah, go Noles, right?
No, I was skipping over that one too. I was going to say Clemson, Kentucky, because Clemson had to have that last second touchdown.
That Florida State Georgia game was too violent for children. It's like kids.
Well, it got too violent for children after the first quarter. The first quarter was like all right, we're gonna slap you around a little bit, and then after that, like the glove came off, and it was like, here's my backhand. I won't say it. I'm gonna be nice from Mark's channel. I could have gone rogue there, but I decided to hold off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that was
it
abusive.
was a good year in bowl games this year. I thought some of the bowl matchups were a lot better than they were in previous years. I liked a lot of the bowl matchups this year. I loved the West Virginia North Carolina matchup. I wish North Carolina didn't have so many players setting out. Might have been a better game, but still, yeah, I thought it was a good matchup. I thought there were several good matchups this year.
I mean, what about Georgia Tech just whooping up on UCF? I was kind of surprised by that. I mean, I know Georgia Tech had been kind of creeping up in a positive manner, but I mean, UCF had an okay year. I mean, they absolutely thumped Oklahoma State. So I was like really surprised by that showing from them.
Yeah, but Central Florida and Georgia Tech, they were both under that. They always were the Jekyll and Hyde teams for the 2023 season. I mean, Georgia Tech, 1 week they fell apart against Bowling Green, but then next week they upset Miami, and then later on they upset North Carolina. Next thing you know, with Central Florida, they pissed away a 28-point lead against the Baylor Bare Necessities, which that's not good. And then a month and a half later, they're upsetting the Oklahoma State Cowboys 45-3 after Oklahoma State wins the final edition of the Bedlam. So I mean,
I think we just have to face it and say Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU were not ready for Power 5 football this first year.
It was interesting too. I mean, they all entered at kind of like a down cycle. I mean, I really do feel like UCF and Cincinnati like 4 years ago would have been very much ready for this, but
yeah,
Cincinnati and UCF, they've all had like in BYU, they've all had coaching changes in the last couple of years. I mean, they're all kind of in rebuilding stages, and then they enter the Big 12.
Well, with Central Florida, I've got a great feeling with Gus Malzahn, they're just going to be underachieving. I mean, they underachieved, the first 2 years that Malzahn was there in the last years of the AAC. They were always losing the Navy, but then 1 week they were having a great week against Cincinnati. And, I just feel like that's a regular occurrence. And, for those that watch Malzahn at Auburn, he always did that. His teams always won the games they shouldn't have won, and they always lost the games they shouldn't have. So next year for 2024, if you are looking to bet on a Central Florida game, watch for the game that's not talked about. Watch for the Central Florida games where Central Florida is talked about how great and wonderful they are, then bet against them. And also watch for the Central Florida games where everything is either negative on Central Florida or no one's really talking about them. And when you see those games, you bet on Central Florida to beat the spread. Case in point, Central Florida, Oklahoma. Nobody said a word about Oklahoma, Central Florida that week. Nobody was talking about it. What happens? Central Florida almost upsets the Oklahoma Sooners. That is what you will see with Gus Malzahn teams constantly. Thing to keep an eye out for, especially for 2024 and beyond. Malzahn's at Central Florida.
I want to take on that was pretty typical of Gus Malzahn teams at Auburn when they were, I mean, like how many years did they beat? I mean, he has like 3 or 4 wins against Bama.
3 wins against Alabama. One, the Kit Sitch 2013, 2017, 26-14, and high scoring game in 2019 where Auburn spoiled any shot at the playoffs for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah. So.
I'm sorry.
They were all at home.
Hold on.
Auburn.
Let me shed a tear for Bama for those years. Let me shed a tear.
Okay.
I want to take on something that Ralph Wolf said in the comments, because I agree with you, Ralph. And then I'm going to take on something that Dave's here said. But Ralph Wolf said, I think if you get an NIL deal, you should have to play in bowl games. I agree. Dave says you could sign an NIL deal with whoever you'd like and put it in the contract somehow. You can't do that because that's tying them to a university, and that'd be pay for play. So you can't make them play in bowl games right now. They get rid of that pay for play rule, probably could. But as long as that pay for play rule is in there, you're not going to sign them to contracts to play for a certain university in a certain amount of games because that ties them to the university, and that's illegal. So, right now.
Yeah, because that's the fine print shit of it. And
it's like what penalty could you even impose on these guys that would make it worth it to play in these games? And, it's like, okay, I mean,
you know what you could do?
Even if you break in an NIL contract, it's like, okay, so I'm still just.
All right. Here's what you do.
Yeah.
You tell them I'm gonna give you $50,000 a year to play, and then after 4 years to fulfill your contract, there's a $500,000 bonus for you in a trust fund. But it requires you to not set out bowl games. If you're injured, that's different. But you can't just set out bowl games. You're required to play all the games to get that thing.
That would make me want to play the games. That's for sure.
Right. That's how you do that. You just cut down on the NIL and just put it in a trust fund and say you get it after your contract's done.
That's what should have been done to begin with. None of this. How it's gone so far. That's what it should have been. I mean, that was the smart idea at the beginning. It was like, yeah, put it away because that way later on they'll have majority of it sitting there. You can give them money, of course, up front to live off of it, enjoy it, but put most of it away and go, if NFL doesn't work, here's all this money still sitting here. So you can then move on and, continue your life and career and stuff like that for however long and live off that or whatever while you pursue those dreams.
I just hope that a lot of the players learn how to invest. Like, I hope they can take investment courses, like how to make your money grow, that way you don't have to, work for it for the rest of your life. You can just, all you got to do is learn how to invest wisely.
And Rob's right. He says that would be a legal challenge. And that's the problem with the whole NIL thing right now. Everything's a legal challenge. Everything is. And, and until Congress does something or the NCAA steps in and does something, it's just going to be a Wild West show. Yeah.
The NCAA and Congress are doing the same thing. They're both sitting around scratching their nuts, doing nothing. So, exactly. Or lady parts, whatever. Sorry, let's be inclusive here.
Or you can call it your laying down.
All right, I'm gonna walk away for a second. I'll walk away for a second. I'm on timeout. Before Mark comes in, says something.
But I mean, something can be done about all this. But yeah.
No, I mean the whole problem has been there's been just very little oversight to how any of this is implemented. And the problem was that the NCAA left this up to courts to decide. I mean, they let the courts impose this decision on them when it was very clear ahead of time they were going to lose all these legal challenges.
You realize that like the last 15 court cases against the NCAA, they've not won any of them.
No,
they can't win a court case.
I mean, they're running worse than Donald Trump in court right now. I mean, this is just, it's like you cannot possibly, I mean, like you have to anticipate this and you have to like set some reasonable reforms in place ahead of time. And, they were just too stubborn, too reluctant.
And the problem is one thing leads to another, these court cases. So, and as an example, so West Virginia University sued the NCAA, because they had a player on their basketball team that they were not allowing to play. And they sued them and said, hey, they should be able to play. And they won the case. So he's getting to play, not having to sit out a year. And he transferred in. So now that means anybody that transfers, football, basketball, wrestling, whatever, it's
Yeah.
automatically replaced. So there's always repercussions to these court hearings that come down and haunt a team.
Yeah. No, and I mean, like, the problem has been is that all these universities and the NCAA as an institution either have just been like super defiant in resistance to these inevitable rulings that are going to go against them, or they just don't adjust, when as an institution when things happen and say, you know what, I mean, like, this is the new way of the world. And
Now, the people that are saying, well, I wish they would just do away with the NCAA. Here's the problem with that. When you do away with the NCAA, you're going to do away with a lot of Division II and Division III sports because those are funded by the NCAA out of basketball. So if you say, okay, the NCAA is not going to have a part in any decisions anymore, conferences are going to run this thing. Well, them conferences aren't going to be giving money to Division II and Division III teams.
They can't raise any funds.
Yeah, right.
So
the NCAA is a great thing because it keeps the lower sports going, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem with that. You don't want to.
And it also is supposed to provide some sort of check on like the elite institutions from just running everything, from just saying, it's. I mean, like there's got to be some constraints on how much muscle the Michigan, Ohio States, Alabama's, Georgia's, Oregon's flex on the world.
I don't trust conferences to police these teams, because the SEC is not going to police Alabama. I don't care what you say; it's not going to happen. The Big Ten is not going to police Ohio State and Michigan. It's just not going to happen.
The ACC's not going to police Clemson or Florida State.
Right. So
Big 12's not going to police Oklahoma State, BYU, and so on and so forth.
Right. So I don't like that. I think there's got to be some kind of a higher power, and the NCAA is probably the best we've got, but they're useless. They're absolutely useless. They don't do anything. It takes them 2 years to make a decision about something, and then that decision always gets challenged in court, and then it's always overturned. So,
I mean, yeah, it's completely toothless because once you actually exercise any judgment, the people that have perpetrated the original offense that are all gone usually. And then
Rob's saying, if they put a salary cap, how could you enforce that? It's impossible. You're right. It's impossible to the extent of NIL because you got to understand salary caps. Salary caps are not going to be. You can't tell a player that he can only sign a $100,000 contract with an NIL deal. He can sign that contract for $1 million if he wants to, but you can salary cap the universities and let them pay players. And salary cap them. You can do that. And I think that's something the NCAA is looking at, obviously, is the programs that make what was it, $100,000 a year or more that they can pay players, and they would probably salary cap them. But it still wouldn't affect these NIL deals, some of these crazy ones, because you can't tell a player you can't make but so much in NIL. You can't salary cap that. There's nothing. That's like an NFL player. Look, some of these NBA players don't sign very big contracts, but then they get these huge marketing deals. And, look at Michael Jordan. He didn't make that much money, guys. Go back and look. Michael Jordan didn't make that much money, but he's worth $1 billion today because of his NIL contracts. Pretty much in the NBA.
No, because of some of the some of the rights contracts he sold.
That they can't salary cap. They can't salary cap those. There's nothing they can do. Michael Jackson was free to Michael Jordan was free to sign any contract he wanted with anybody, Nike or whoever, and make all the money he wanted. Whereas the Chicago Bulls couldn't pay him but a certain salary or whatever. It's
All
the
right,
same
man.
way in every sport.
I'm out of timeout now.
You had a timeout now. Self-inflicted timeout.
Yeah. I self-imposed, exactly.
Yeah.
I sanctioned myself.
Kind of like when the winner of Alabama Tennessee self-imposes a NCAA sanction because they're like smoking cigars after the game, or not like that.
Not quite like that, but
Oh, okay.
if you want to compare it like that, we can do that. Well, I don't know. Is there anything any other bowl game you want to cover tonight?
I'm done.
Pop-Tarts Bowl. I was wondering if you want to cover the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Ben.
The Pop-Tart Bowl, I'm still pissed off about. They absolutely lied to me about the edible Pop-Tart. I don't trust them anymore. Not at all.
Apologize to Ben, Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yeah, I deserve it. It was crap.
Oh, man.
It wasn't an edible mascot.
Aw. But it was pretty fun seeing a little bit of the Armed Forces Bowl, even though James Madison didn't do what I wanted him to do, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, that was one of the games I lost.
No, interesting. James Madison's quarterback, Jordan McLeod, is still in the portal. Right, he's been there for like almost a month now. So,
yeah.
I wonder if it's a McCall situation where like his grades aren't, or he's waiting on grade reviews or whatever, and he's going to end up having to like jump back to James Madison.
You think it's going to be like Grayson McCall at Coastal Carolina, where he just sits and chills for a year and then decides, you know what? Let's get on daddle to somewhere in the ACC.
Well, or he worked up his grade a little bit or something like that, like worked extra hard to get him up enough or whatever to meet the yeah.
I think they might. I think he might be waiting to see through a spring practice to see if anybody gets really desperate. You know, maybe somebody else exits, and then he jumps into, or maybe some other quarterback situation is just more of a nightmare than their staff realizes, and he plops right in. Says, "Hey, I'm here, guys. Give me $750K, and I'm your guy."
I'd take it.
Yeah.
Almost anyone here would take that. I'd be like, all right, cool.
100K rolls.
Yeah.
100,000 to make you holler.
Yeah, I'm out of bowl games too. I mean, there were some really good ones, and then there were some really crap ones. You know, I think it really is typical of bowl season. I think if you look back over the years, every year it just seems different. But every year, I think you think the same thing. You're like, wow, these
every
are really
year
good.
more and more people set out. Every year more and more people set out of these bowl games, and I'm wondering how long these bowl games are going to continue. When people are saying they're not relevant, when players are sitting out of them, when they can't fill the stands, I don't. How many bowl games we have this year? God, like 40. So, when's that going to be cut down to 20 and then 10 or 15 like it used to be?
Don't get rid of the Fenway Bowl. Don't get rid of the Pinstripe Bowl.
I'll tell you, it would really hurt these mid-major programs to get rid of a lot of these bowl games because they don't they don't generate a ton of revenue for themselves, and they don't generally get, like any sort of like television audience for these games. These bowl games actually do. I mean, like they get huge in relation to what they get during the regular season. They get huge audiences for these games. Like,
I think
four to five times more people watch an Ohio or a Georgia Southern bowl game than they will any game that they watch during the rest of the season.
And I think I miscounted. I think I miscounted one game. I think I double counted or undercounted one. It was 43 or 44 with the total playoff and title game. And then add one if you want to add Army Navy, which we'll add it because it was a finale kind of for the Commander in Chief trophy. So 44 or
But see,
45.
It'd be sad they get rid of a lot of
See,
these bowl games.
I guess I'm old school because if you
It
think
was a
about
lot
that, 40 bowl games is 80 teams. I
Yeah.
can remember, watching bowl games. Gosh, I can remember, back in the 80s, there might be 10 bowl games, 12 bowl games at the most. You top 25 got in bowl games, and that was it. I mean, it was tough to make bowl games, and they meant something.
I remember hearing about bowl games where years where the Ohio State Michigan winner or loser didn't get into a bowl game. It was like the Big Ten got the Rose Bowl, and that was about it. That was their natural tie-in. Back in the early 70s.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it. There were like 8 bowl games.
I'll be honest though, I always feel like it's Christmas time when the bowl games come around. Especially like when you see, and I know like, the group of 5 teams are not exactly a big deal to some people, but it's fun watching the New Mexico Bowl sometimes or the Las Vegas Bowl. I mean, I love the Las Vegas Bowl. It's another great one. I think what's really hurting the bowl games, honestly, is ESPN having so much of a monopoly on it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't see bowls on ESPN. We should, but I think they should share. I think ESPN should get 1/4 of the bowls. Another fourth should go to Fox. Then the third fourth goes to CBS. And the last fourth goes to NBC. And I think, Barstool Sports should get another bowl besides the Arizona Bowl. And who knows? Let's see the Voice College Football get a bowl game as well. What do you think, Joey?
And eventually you see all these streaming services. They'll all be competing for a lot of these games. YouTube will, I'm sure, start like airing a lot of these bowl games.
Well, the problem is, here's what's going to happen probably, and there'll probably be a YouTube bowl or an Amazon bowl,
Mr. Beast Bowl.
Right? So
Yeah, exactly.
So like Barstool Sports,
It's like a
has their
parody,
bowl.
but it will be a reality.
There'll be a Netflix bowl, right? And it'll only be aired on Netflix or something. That's what I see coming on. I mean,
Hey, if
I don't know.
Netflix is having a bowl game, I'm making sure I'm keeping Netflix for that. I mean,
I just think
You'll pay the year's worth of subscriptions just to watch that one.
exactly. I'm making sure. I'm making sure. I mean,
You're
I'll
not
figure out.
canceling it, no matter what Rock and Mortgage tells you. I'm not canceling this.
I agree here with Troy too. Like Troy saying,
What's Troy
some of the
saying?
most exposure that some of these players will get at colleges. It's a good reason for bowls. Let's say them give a final chance, maybe a draft stock boost also, against another opponent. I mean, bowl games,
Network.
I
bowl
agree.
games
I
do have
agree.
a point. I mean,
Here's the
I
problem with that.
I try to watch all the bowl games I can personally because I love college football. So
Right,
Where is the draft stock?
like something to think even beyond, like what this does for like those kids in the programs is like is these athletic departments at these schools depend on this football revenue to keep it
Well,
going.
here's the thing
a
about
large portion of that comes from what they get in these bowl games. So like lots and lots of lives are what seems like silly, like fodder, filler air, really does have a positive benefit on real lives. Like 18 to 22-year-olds who get to pursue their athletic careers.
I
During
what
hope
Troy's saying is right,
we'll
but there's
see.
a problem with what Troy's saying, and that is, okay, you get exposure, right? You get to make the field and get out there, but when players are setting out on the other team, what's the NFL looking at? If you're going up against a freshman 3-star corner, and you're a 4-star wide receiver that you're trying to impress the NFL scouts. Well, you're not going to impress anybody when you're beating that 3-star freshman and you're a 4-star senior and going down the field. So because players have set out, so I don't know where these bowl games show the NFL anything.
That's a team by team basis, because again, not every team is going to do that. For instance, look at Oregon this year. Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, and multiple defensive guys and stuff could have sat out and been like, we're done. But instead, they went in and went, you know what? We're going to rock this Liberty team. And they did.
Yeah.
Now, what does that say for those players? Nothing, except for that they love the game that much that they want to play, you know, and have a final bow out for their careers and stuff like that. So there are the positives and negatives. I get what you're saying, Joey, too, you know, and I think that comes down to individual player, individual teams, and et cetera, what game it is, what bowl game, you know, all that stuff. There's a multiple layering to that.
But I mean, like, say you're a Liberty corner in that game, and you've never faced like real legitimate competition. You've had a great season, but you're an undrafted free agent grade, or you're a guy that maybe they'll bring into camp. You get at least a game to go up against Troy Franklin and Tez Johnson. Say, hey, you know what? This is what I can do.
Champions against the world. Yeah, we're not doing After Dark on the Super Bowl Sunday. We're not doing on the Super Bowl Sunday, but thank you for reminding me. Puppy Bowl premieres Sunday, February 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern on, I guess it's Animal Planet still. I love the Puppy Bowl.
That's the most important comment all night.
One or NBC, I'm not sure.
No, the Puppy Bowl.
Yeah, that's why I'm talking about the Puppy Bowl.
Is it? I thought it was on Animal Planet all the time. Maybe they co-stream it. Thank you for reminding me about the Puppy Bowl. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
I love the Puppy. It's a great way to just put something on and waste your afternoon. Watching random flags be thrown by the ref going, no, foot in the water bowl. Bad puppy.
Oh.
All right, gentlemen. I don't care. I'm ending this crap.
Sounds
We have done enough damage to Mark's reputation. For this season,
everybody, tomorrow night I will have a show over on the Big 12 channel, Big 12 at the Voice of College Football. Be sure you sub it up. Be sure you join me tomorrow night, 8:00, and we will have a Big 12 show over there.
Once again, yes, please subscribe to the Big 12 channel. Link in the description of this video right here. Join Joey there. And Jackson, what do you have coming up?
Nothing much so far, but I did do a video reaction of the NFC title game, and I did a reaction video of the AFC title game where I went over my take on each of the games. And I gotta say, I really hope Zay Flowers learned quite a lot from his rookie mistakes this afternoon. And I really hope that Dan Campbell learned from his mistakes and know when to chance it and know when not to chance it. That's all I could say for Mr. Campbell, but I wish him nothing but awesomeness.
Lingerie Bowl.
Yeah, it's like the lingerie league, you know, like that was an obscure league. Great to watch though. That was fun while it lasted.
I wonder if we'll ever see like a bowl game called the Joe Rogan Experience Bowl. That'd be neat.
The Joe Rogan Experience. That
It'd
could
be
go
like,
so many ways.
Wait,
Yeah.
Jamie, who are those two teams playing again? Jamie, who's that playing? Joe, that's
San Jose State.
Cincinnati and Oregon State. Oh wow, oh man, you ever smoke DMT, man? You ever smoke DMT? That's awesome.
Sean, what do you got going on?
I will be on the Ocho tomorrow night. 99% likelihood. With John Diadamo, most likely Jackson Johnson and Carew. You can catch me next Saturday evening, I will be enjoying the comedy stylings of Stavros Halkias, famed Baltimore Ravens fan. So you can see a bunch of Lions and Raven at 20 Monroe Live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So you can see a lot of Lions and Ravens fans crying over the results of today's games. So that's what I have on the docket for the next week, and I will hope to see you guys all here next week.
Yes, we will be here next week. We will not be here Super Bowl weekend just because I know Mark will be doing something special that week. So we'll probably take Super Bowl weekend off. I think that's an appropriate day to do it. So next week, I think we'll do a conference preview review, look ahead at each conference one by one and kind of look at it, especially with all the teams joining, because everyone's so excited to talk about Virginia Tech at Stanford and stuff like that, you know. Everyone's very, very excited to talk about that stuff. So that's what we're going to do, conference by conference. So stay focused. But please also thank you for everyone joining in here following the Mark Show. I don't want to keep everyone late as we started late because of that, which no problem. Make sure to hit that like button. Helps the show a lot. Once again, remember, join either Mark Rogers on Patreon and or YouTube membership and just email him, let you know you joined at markrogerstv@gmail.com in the description. He will give you the Discord link, and then you can also be open on this open panel every Sunday that we're on right here on the Voice of College Football. And until next week, gentlemen, you will find me on the Oregon Show on Tuesday night. And other than that, I have nothing else to say. So you know what? I'm going to tell you all to screw off. Stop annoying me. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. Play me out, Pop-Tart. Dirty, dirty Pop-Tart.
Don't be giving him a spanking Pop-Tart. That's not nice.
I like what he's doing right there. I like the refs not even acknowledging him. It's like they practiced it. Oh, yeah.